Assalamu alaikum everyone, how are you? Today we are starting chapter 4, management of foreign exchange risk. Before starting the chapter, first we have to know what is foreign exchange or what is foreign exchange market. A market for the purchase and sale of foreign currencies is called a foreign exchange market. যে মার্কেটে বেসিক্যালি কোনো ফরেন কারেন্সি পারচেজ অ্যান্ড সেল করা হয়, দিস প্লেস ইজ অ্যাকচুয়ালি কল্ড ফরেন এক্সচেঞ্জ মার্কেট. Then what is exchange risk? Any idea about exchange risk? In short word, it a risk of a company where operations and profitability may be affected by the change in the exchange rate between currencies. I repeat, the risks is happen when the organization's operations and profitability may be affected by changes in the exchange rates between currencies. It is potential gain or loss, whatever you can say, that occurs as a result of an exchange rate change. Uncovered claim in foreign currency is called long, and an uncovered liability in foreign currency is called short. Organizationer যখন কোনো operations or profitability is affected by the change rate in currencies, this is called basically exchange rate, exchange risk. This risk can happen in any financial organization, a country, a bank, where financial impact is happen because of the exchange rate fluctuation. যে কখনো খুব সাডেনলি বেড়ে গেল, কখনো খুব সাডেনলি ফল করে গেল, এই যে ফ্ল্যাকচুয়েশনটা হয়, আনসার্টেন, ইটস কোয়াইট আনসার্টেন. So these things actually are risk or a threat for an organization, for a country. These things is called actually exchange risk. Are you clear with it? Okay. There are basically three types of exchange risk. First is transaction exposure, translational exposure, and finally economic exposure. First thing first is, what is transaction exposure? Transaction exposure is basically the level of uncertainty business involved in the international trade phase, especially the risk that currency exchange rate will fluctuate after a firm has already undertaken a financial obligation. Are you clear with it? No? Then translation exposure. Translation exposure is basically the risk that a company's equities, for example equities, assets, liabilities or income will change in value as a result of exchange rate changes. These things happen when a firm denominates a portion of the equities, assets, liabilities in a foreign currency. Translation risk is basically happen. So you can ask, what is the difference between transaction and translation exposure. Transaction basically says the risks associated with changes in foreign exchange rate, whereas translation happen when the risks associated with changes the value of a company's financial statement due to exchange rate changes. Finally, economic exposure. That types of risks happen when the effect of unexpected currency fluctuation on a company's future cash flow, foreign investment and earnings. Or you can say the unexpected changes happen when the present value of a firm or an asset or a liability on account of the exchange rate changes. Are you clear with these three types of risk? Transaction exposure, translational exposure, and finally economic exposure. These things is very important for your final exam, so you have to understand it very clearly. If you have any question regarding this, you can do ask me, or I am moving to the next slide. Okay, should firm manage foreign exchange risk? কি মনে হয় একটা ফার্ম কি চাইলেই ফরেন এক্সচেঞ্জকে রিস্কটাকে মিনিমাইজ করতে পারে অর মিটিগেট করতে পারে? দেখেন একটা রিস্ক থেকে তো পুরোপুরি কিওর হওয়া পসিবল না, যে রিস্ক হবে না এমন তো পসিবল না। আমি যদি বলি আমি সব প্রিকশন নিয়ে বসে আছি, ডেঙ্গু আমাকে এফেক্ট করতে পারবে না, ইজ ইট রিয়েলি পসিবল? নো, বাট আমি কোনো প্রিকশন নিলাম না, অ্যাটলিস্ট প্রিকশন নিলে আমার না হওয়ার চান্সেস বাড়বে, বাট দ্যাট ডাজন্ট মিন আমার হবেই না। সো ইটস কিন্ড আ বিট লাইক দ্যাট আ ফার্ম ক্যান refrain from management to foreign exchange risks because management doesn't understand it. They claim that exposure cannot be measured. They say that the firm is hedged. Okay, I will explain the meaning of hedged later. They say that the firm does not have any exchange risk because it does all its business in rupees. And finally, they assert that the balance sheet is hedged on an accounting basis. So there are some risk management tools. We will learn few of them. At first, we will learn what is hazing. Any idea or have you heard before the term hazing? Okay, hazing is basically an investment to counter or minimize the risk of adverse price movement in an asset or security. It's a method of sourcing oneself against loss from various risk ills called hazing. Hazing is used as a potential tool to ward off or offset the deleterious effect impending exchange risk by altering the composition of assets and liabilities. Hedges avoid exchange risk by matching their assets and liabilities in foreign currencies. If you can say an example, suppose you want to buy a homeowner's insurance or house insurance if you wanted to buy. You are hazing yourself against fires, break-ins or other unforeseen disaster, right? Portfolio managers, individual investors and corporations use hazing technique to reduce their exposure to various risks. Bujhan nai? Okay, suppose you are a home, suppose you are purchased a home insurance. So what happened? You are saving yourself from fire or unseen disaster. So hazing is basically similar like that. We are taking some steps. It's similar like insurance. We are taking some step. So what can happen? They can reduce their exposure to various risks. হেজিং এর মেইন কাজটা কি? কাজটা হচ্ছে বেসিক্যালি রিডিউস করা ফিনান্সিয়াল রিস্কটাকে, প্রাইস মুভমেন্টটা যেন রিডিউস হয়। সো হেজিং ইজ আ প্রসেস, সো প্রাইস মুভমেন্টটা যেন একটু হলেও রিডিউস হয়। হোয়াট হ্যাপেন অ্যান ইনভেস্টার to minimize the adverse price movement in the asset or security. Yes. There are most common hazing strategy is portfolio construction, options and volatility indicators. Hazing is basically important for trader and investor to mitigate their market risk and volatility. It minimizes the loss. Market risk, volatility are an integral part of the market. It mainly motive of investors to make more profit. There are huge types of issues or problems actually we are facing in our future, which is quite uncertain. You can never see what will happen. So hazing is a minimization process of price and assets, so you can facilitate to survive. The most important or advances or the advantage of hazing is to trader survival. In the hard market period, successful hazing provides trader protection against commodity price changes, currency exchange rate risk, interest rate risk, inflation and so on. Are you clear with the term hazing? Then forward contract. Forward contract is between banks which call for delivery at a future date of a specific amount of one currency against dollar payment at the rate which is determined at the time of contract is known as a forward contract. So what is hazing with forward contract? There are two types of hazing in forward contract. Hazing in a long position where an Indian exporter, suppose, owing a foreign currency claim in the form of an export bill in foreign currency, expects the value of dollar to fall on the date of collection of the bill in future. The sale of forward contract will help guarantee the Indian exporter the actual price. আচ্ছা একবার পড়েন, নিজেরা একবার পড়েন, তারপর আবার বলছি। আচ্ছা first you have to understand যে long haze টা কি। ফার্স্টে এটা একটু বুঝেন। It's a buyer commodity is making a bet that the price of the commodity will rise in the future. The buyer of the commodity is making a bet that the price of the commodity will increase in the future. So what happened? You can connect with the example where an Indian exporter owing a foreign currency claim in the form an export bill in foreign currency. He purchased a foreign currency export bill where he can see that this bill can be fall in down in future. So the forward contract help the guarantee that the price he will give the actual price. Jodi poreo jay they will give the actual price. It's a safety portion. Hazing amra keno kori safety purpose e. Then hazing in short position where an Indian importer ageta chilo exporter now an importer owing a আচ্ছা আগেরটা কি বলছিলাম যে এক্সপোর্ট করতেছি মানে কি ইন্ডিয়ান এক্সপোর্টার হয়ে আমি এক্সপোর্ট করতেছি বা আমি বাংলাদেশি হয়ে আমি এক্সপোর্ট করতেছি সো আমি চিন্তা করলাম যে আমি এক্সপেক্ট করতেছি যে যখন আমি বিলটা পাবো তখন টাকার প্রাইসটা কমে যেতে পারে সো তখন হচ্ছে ইন্ডিয়ান এক্সপোর্টার বেসিক্যালি বেট দ্য প্রাইস যে না তখন তোমার টাকার পোর্শনটা কমবে না দে উইল প্রোভাইড ইউ দ্য অ্যাকচুয়াল প্রাইস আর আমরা যখন শর্ট পজিশনে আসি when an Indian importer owing a foreign liability in the form of an import bill obligation in foreign currency expect the value of dollar is to increase on the date of payment of the bill in future. The purchase of forward contract will help the guarantee Indian importer the actual price. I'm an importer now I'm import some of my product or raw material from outside of the price but when I'm planning to আমি আজকে অর্ডার করেছি প্রোডাক্টটা তো আমার কাছে আজকে চলে আসতেছে না বা বিলও আমি আজকে দিয়ে দিচ্ছি না I will pay the bill in future so future is always uncertain I'm expecting the price will increase then what happened on that time so what I did I will contact with the exposer said no I will they will make me the assurance that no you will have to pay the actual price whatever the situation is dollar price increase or decrease now you will pay the bill the price is running now this is basically called hedging in short position are you clear with it আজকে এ পর্যন্তই থাকুক আমি একটু রিভার্স করে দেই পুরোটা in our today's lecture we will learn foreign exchange market exchange risk there are 3 types of risk risk management tool hedging forward contract then currency future থেকে পড়ি নাই আজকে আমরা currency future money market hedge these things we'll learn next class before that you can just check a bit if you have any question you can do ask me just go through the whole slide No question? Reading portion? Okay.